Hello, students. It is very late at night by the time I am able to record this, so I am hiding in my laundry room so that I don't wake up Nora. But let's talk about some math. Hope you all had a great day today. Today in the news, you may have heard the term doubling every 3 days, especially if you live in New York. Andrew Cuomo, the governor, was on TV saying that the cases in New York are doubling every 3 days. And that means that every 3 days that go by, the number of people who have been infected with the coronavirus doubles. And I want to take a look at what that looks like on a graph. So on this graph here, we have the active cases in countries with 7,500 confirmed cases as of March 22nd, 2020. And on this graph, if you look really closely, I'm just going to zoom in a bit so we can see the graph a little bit better. If you zoom in, you will notice that on the horizontal axis, we have the number of days that have passed, and on the vertical axis, we have the number of cases. And as we've talked about in previous videos, this vertical axis has a log scale, which means it doesn't increase by a constant amount, it multiplies. So it's mostly doubling here, 2,000 to 5,000 to 10,000 to 20,000 to 40,000. So on this log scale, I want to pay attention to a few countries. First, I would like to look at South Korea, which is this blue line here. And if we trace it all the way back to the beginning, you can see that South Korea's line was growing very quickly, and eventually it was able to bend this way and flatten out. And recently there have been no new cases, active cases, and you can see this area of the graph, it started going down. So at day 30, that part of the graph started going down. The really interesting part of this graph, that this graph includes, is it includes these two dotted lines for you. This line here, which the graph tells us is doubling every 2 days. So if a graph follows this pattern, that means the number of people infected will double every 2 days. And if the graph follows that other dotted line that appears on this graph, this dotted line represents doubling every 3 days. So doubling every 2 days has a steeper climb than doubling every 3 days. We would rather double every 3 days instead of every 2 days. Doubling every 4 days would be even lower. Somewhere down here would be doubling every 4 days. So the flatter you can get these lines, the flatter you can get these, the less quickly the growth is happening. And you'll see the United States is right here, this pink line. The United States is right in between doubling every 2 days and doubling every 3 days. We are right in between those two very big lines. And if I get rid of these two lines, again, just to show you the size of this graph, just to show you the shape of this graph, if you zoom in, you can see each day, we're looking at the pink line, each day, sometimes it grows slower, then it goes faster, then it slows down, then it grows faster. The steeper this line curves, the steeper up it goes, that shows a faster level of growth. So on these graphs, we ultimately want to see these graphs looking like South Korea. And also recently in the past few days, the graph in Italy, you see this little part, it looks like it's starting to curve to be straight instead of climbing straight up, which would be good news if this graph starts to go straight. And so eventually we want the United States graph, we want to look for this graph to curve this way instead of continuing to climb at the rate of doubling every 2 days or doubling every 3 days. So when you hear that and you see these graphs, that's some information to pay attention to. Today we are going to have a special guest explain a solution to puzzle number 6 and give us a new puzzle, our puzzle of the day number 7. So I will pass the floor to our guest, Ms. Kirkinides.
Hey everyone, it's Miss Kirkinides, and I wanted to go over the solution to puzzle number 6 that Mr. G put in his video of the Daily Dose of Math yesterday, which was about the 6 glasses where 3 had grape juice and 3 were empty. The one rule was you were only able to move one glass, and you needed to end with a pattern of juice, no juice, juice, no juice, juice, no juice. With that being said, I'm going to number each glass just to make sense of this all. So we have the first one here, the second, the third, the fourth, the 5th, and the 6th. Okay, here's your answer. If you take the second glass of juice and pour it into the 5th glass, the 5th glass now has juice filled, and the second glass becomes empty, leaving you with a pattern of juice, no juice, juice, no juice, juice, no juice, and I only moved one glass. Here is your next puzzle. As you can see, there are 4 scales, all with different animals on them. The first one has a rabbit and a cat, which weigh 10 kilograms together. A dog and a rabbit weigh 20 kilograms together. A dog and a cat weigh 24 kilograms together. But I want to know, what is the weight of the dog, cat, and rabbit all together? See if you can figure it out. Stay tuned for tomorrow's answer in the Daily Dose of Math.
As always, we will end with some positivity practice. I know the news has continued to be pretty negative. Some of us are getting pretty cooped up at home and feeling like we wish we could go outside. And I just want to remind you, being positive doesn't mean you have to be happy all the time. Today's message is, it's okay not to be okay. And what I take that as is, when I'm feeling really down and I'm feeling really upset, that's okay. I have to remind myself it's okay not to be okay, because I have to trust that eventually I'm going to feel a little bit better. So it's okay if I don't feel perfect right now. I can fix that. There are things I can do to change that, but at least I can trust that eventually things will get better. I will feel better. So it's perfectly okay not to be okay. And not a lot of people tell you that all the time. Sometimes people like to pretend that they're positive all the time. That's not true for a lot of people. Sometimes it's okay to not be okay. So I hope all of you had a great day. If not, I hope you have a better one tomorrow, and I will see you on Wednesday.